Well, the good news this week was that South Africa's current account deficit narrowed, but it's still a chasm that represents the gap between our imports and our exports. South Africa relies heavily on imports, with many decrying the fact that we don't manufacture enough of our own goods to send them around the world, even that we're de-industrialising. Well, to discuss, we're joined by the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Mzwandile Masina. Thank you for joining us, Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much.
So it's been raised that we need to intervene because there are factories closing down. The DTI is at the forefront of trying to re-industrialise, specifically with black manufacturers. Just tell us where we are right now.
No, thank you very much. The DTI and the government of South Africa has taken a bold and decisive step to bring about the program to promote and support black industrialists. The program basically is going to ensure that we get as much as possible black people into the productive sectors of the economy. Because in the main, we've seen that our people have tended to focus more on the consumption base or the buying of shares, which is good, but not good enough, because for our economy to be strong, you need factories to produce goods and services that we can export to other countries.
Is it the right time to focus on black industrialization? Some say that we're not focusing enough on just letting investors come in, build those factories, build the capacity which we can all benefit from.
Look, there has been a period in South Africa where we're not focusing on industrial, or where we're not having a clear industrial policy. Since 2009, government has put together an industrial policy which is beginning to really bear lots of fruits. There are a lot of activities now, but I must say that in some of the peripheral areas, we've seen a massive closure of factories, which is what we need to do now to respond to those. If you go to the Eastern Cape areas like Timbaza and so on, there is really an economic depression in that particular area. So programs like this will begin to also redirect investors as they come to the country, because there is no use for all investors to be located in big cities when our major rural areas are suffering, when they could go there, find the ready-made labor as well as the industries that can be improved for their technologies. So
mini industrial zones.
Yes, we
spread
think
across the country.
Yes, we think our program around the SEZ should really focus on some of the outskirt areas so that we can redirect investment that comes into the country. Because if you look into cities like provinces like Gauteng, Western Cape, and KZN, there's a lot of work happening in the major cities of Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, but industries are just not willing or prepared. So we need to put some incentives for them to be able to be pushed into those areas so that they can help us create jobs.
Deputy Minister, as I understand it, you haven't found those exact incentives yet, because we're not seeing these areas shoot the lights out in terms of attracting industrialization and manufacturers. What we are seeing, and the big controversy at the moment, is protection. So let's look at an example which is current. The chicken industry in South Africa is being protected so they can continue to produce. That's the source of contention with America that wants to send cheap chickens. The question is, we have this population that loves chicken, and they are being deprived of the cheaper prices. And some would argue we should find rather where we're strong and let our weak industries go. What is the thinking around the sort of general more protectionist stance that we're seeing?
No, look, there must always be a balance of trade at all times. We don't want a situation where import are more than export at all, even on things that we can be able to do. We are strong in agriculture. We are strong in minerals and so on. So we must find a way in which, because countries like the US, they do protect their industries. That's why we've gone back now to negotiate the AGOA so that we're able to level the playing field. And we think that there are benefits for both us and them in the current, the way AGOA is set up. So we wouldn't want to move. And we've sent some of our negotiators, and I'm told that some will be coming to speak to you about the level of details on that. But what I wanted to emphasize basically is that the reason why this program on black industrialism has become a catalyst that is critical is that it will help us firstly to generate maximum interest for people to open factories but also as to where they're opening those factories becomes an essential issue that we must address. More importantly, many of our people have been saying that access to finance is a problem. So on the 25th and 26th of March, the President will be a keynote address when we speak about black industrialist concept that we are going to be launching in South Africa. We're working on the policy. So, and we're hoping that that policy is what we'll use to ensure that we can anchor our development in the outskirts.
Well, let's end with that. Are you getting support from the full cabinet, the full executive, the full government? Because some say there's a cross purpose. The NDP that we're championing hardly talks about manufacturing. It talks about finding our advantages and specializing in things like that. Then your department is continually launching manufacturing programs.
Look, there's a lot of support. In the State of the Nation address, the President was very firm about where we're moving with regard to industrialization in particular. He affirmed the program on black industrialists, and as I said, that next week he will be launching that particular program. All the colleagues in government have agreed that if we want a radical socio-economic transformation in South Africa, that's where we should start. It's a bare minimum, but we think it will make a huge impact in the economy of South Africa, and we want to call upon South Africans to look into the issue of manufacturing seriously so that we can increase our export output.
We desperately need more and more small companies creating jobs. Thank you for your time, Deputy Minister Mzwandile Masina from the Department of Trade and Industry. That's all we have time for.